Hello everyone, Dark Skeleton here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make the very standard Face Hunter deck for Blackrock Mountain. Now, Face Hunter as a deck has always been something that's really easy to construct, rather easy to play, and really fast at climbing the ladder just because of the sheer number of games you can play in a single day of Face Hunter. You either win or you lose by about turn 6 or 7, in most cases in any case. So, the deck list for Face Hunter is going to have 2 Glaive Sukas, and it's also going to have 2 Explosive Traps. Always Explosive Traps as the trap of choice for Face Hunter. Freezing Trap is more mid-range or Hybrid Hunter. 2 Eagle Horn Bows, of course that combos with the Explosive Trap for getting you more charges on that. And of course, like any good Hunter deck, you're going to need the Mad Scientist times 2. And now we go back to Hunter cards. Unleash the Hounds times 2. You really want that so that you can counter boards that get too strong on your opponent's side. If they get 4 or 5 minions, you can use Unleash the Hounds and often push for lethal. Being a beast-heavy deck, and really just Hunter in general, you want to kill commands. It's one of the best Hunter cards, goes in almost everything. Similar to that, Animal Companion, really good synergy there, really strong, always gives you a strong 3-drop minion. Not always the one you want, but always a strong stat-for-stat minion. Okay, let me see if I missed anything on the first 2 pages. Hunter's Mark, some decks run that, but not really so much Face Hunter. Let's see. Okay, good on that page. What else do we need? When you get to cards that cost 4 or more, you really don't run them in Face Hunter. That's when you get more into the hybrid slash mid-range Hunter range, which are both viable decks at the moment. But yeah, as Face Hunter, you really only use 1, 2, or 3 cost cards. So, I think that's actually all for the... Oh, I missed one. For the Hunter Pure cards. One I missed is Quick Shot. It's really good from Blackrock Mountain. Deal 3 damage if your hand is empty, draw a card. If you know the Dark Bomb from Warlocks, it's a really good card for them. And this is just icing on the cake. Of course, Warlocks have weaker cards because they have a stronger hero power. Overall. Okay, so now we go back to neutral minions, and what we're going to want here is 2 Abusive Sergeants. I'll use the normal ones here instead of my golden one. I'll actually replace that golden Explosive Trap, just so that you can see the exact deck list. Let's see here. Leper Gnomes times 2. Really aggressive card. Kind of the antithesis of the Zombie Chow. So, Leper Gnome. Always does good work in Face Hunter that deck. You definitely want 2 of them. And 1 Worgen Infiltrator is pretty much standard. The good thing about Worgen Infiltrator is they can't remove it on turn 1, and then you can almost always follow it up with a Glaive Suka, push for 5 damage on turn 2, and that's actually really nice. Okay, beyond that, we're going to want 2 Haunted Creepers. These are good because they're just really sticky on the board, and if your opponent's trying to trade to kill all your minions, which they usually will be, you'll get a lot of value out of that Haunted Creeper. And even if they don't, you can always use it as a trigger for kill command. Okay, so we're going to need an Iron Beak Owl. 1 Silence is important because around turn 5, most control decks are going to drop a Sludge Belcher, and you want this Iron Beak Owl on that turn so that you can actually go ahead, silence the Sludge Belcher, push for damage, and then win around to turn 6 or 7. Okay, so 2 Knife Jugglers. Really good with Unleash the Hounds and all these low-cost minions. Just a solid card in any aggro deck or rather aggressive Paladin deck. Okay, we already got the Mad Scientists in there, which are absolutely necessary. 2 Arcane Golems, really aggressive. The fact that you're giving your opponent a extra mana crystal doesn't matter. You just have to push for damage as much as possible. Try to get this guy in on the field before your opponent drops taunts, or right after you drop a Iron Beak Owl. Follow that up with the Arcane Golem. 2 Wolf Riders. You'd think this would be a pretty bad card, but actually in aggressive decks, because it has charge, it's pretty good. And yeah, actually that's it. This would be the standard deck list for a Face Hunter. Some decks, if you have Leroy Jenkins, do throw in 1 Leroy, and that can be pretty good, but this is the deck that I would say 70 or 80% of Face Hunters are running. So that's 2 Abusive Sergeants, because it lets you push for extra damage. Also, if you have to make a trade, Abusive Sergeant, it's good. You can kind of play it a little bit like Zubit. As the name for Face Hunter would imply, 90% of the time you want that extra 2 damage to go face. But it is versatile in that sense. Leper Gnome just gets pure damage to your opponent's face. There's almost nothing they can do to stop that damage incoming. If a Leper Gnome actually gets an attack in and then the Death Rattle, then it's got real value. 4 damage is a ton for 1 drops. Worgen Infiltrator, it's nice because your opponent can't remove it. Hero Power, I guess if they wanted to coin out an Arcane Explosion or something like that, they could, but who's going to do that realistically? And if they do, then they're just shooting themselves in the foot. So it's really good for that stealth mechanic. You can always Abusive Sergeant it, push for 4 damage, Glaive Zuka, push for 3 damage on the Worgen, and 2 more for Glaive Zuka. Glaive Zuka, of course, it's good because it kills a lot of 2-drop minions your opponent might have, Sorcerer Apprentices, enemy Knife Jugglers, etc. Most of the time, if you have to kill minions as a face hunter, you do it with your weapons, because the damage on your face doesn't matter, it's how much damage you can get on your opponent's face, and if you can keep your minions alive for more than 1 turn, that's a huge deal. So Glaive Zuka, good at killing weak minions, and also good for pushing for damage. 4 extra damage from just the weapon attacks, and then the bonus battle cry is pretty damn good for 2 mana. Explosive Trap gets you extra damage in your opponent's face. If they have a board that just overwhelms you, it helps clear some of it out, slows them down so you can keep going face without being in danger of losing the game. And even if it just kills 1 minion, it kills a minion and deals 2 damage, so that's pretty good, especially if you get it out for free with Mad Scientist. Probably didn't have to tell you about Mad Scientist, it's just so good in any secret deck. Quick Shot. This is the new BRM card that goes into Blackrock Mountain Face Hunter decks, and it's really the only one. Just deals 3 damage. The possibility of drawing a card is really nice, but what makes this super good is it's 2 mana to deal 3 damage directly to your opponent's face, so it goes over taunts. You use this in combination with Face Hunter, and then around turn 5, turn 6, often it doesn't matter that your opponents have the taunts, because you're still going to kill them off with this direct damage. Haunted Creeper, it's sticky. If your opponent does try to trade in for it, you're going to have basically 3-4 of stats across 3 minions. That's pretty good. Also triggers the kill command. And also, if you run a Haunted Creeper on your field into an enemy minion, maybe you have to because they put a taunt down early on, like a Doomguard, or not a Doomguard, a Deathlord, then you can get procs off of the Knife Juggler, because when these 2 Spectral Spiders are summoned, the Knife Juggler procs, and the more Knife Juggler procs you get, the more awesome Knife Juggler gets. So that's another reason it's good. Iron Beak Owl, once again, silencing the taunts. Pretty important to have 1 in your deck for around turn 5 or 6. You don't really need 2, because if you're going to like turn 6 and they're just putting taunts after taunts and you can't get through the taunts, like they just overwhelm you with taunts and you haven't gotten them to the point where you can just finish them off with quick shots or kill command by turn 6 or 7, then you've pretty much lost anyway, and a second Iron Beak Owl, you're not realistically even going to draw into both of them. So nice to have versus Sludge Belcher, which is really common in Constructed. Mad Scientist, once again, it's a 2-2 that your opponent doesn't want to remove because they have to get out the Explosive Trap. If you can put this as your coin minion, like turn 1 coin into this minion, or your turn 2 drop a Mad Scientist minion, throwing out the minions your opponent doesn't want to remove, so they have to remove it with an axe or one of their minions, is a good idea. This can buffer for your better minions, like Knife Juggler, which you don't want them to remove. You do kind of want them to have to remove your Mad Scientist, because you're getting a free trap. Your Knife Juggler, it's nice if you can keep it alive longer, so you can get those Unleash the Hound summons, Haunted Creeper summons, and just random 1-drops to get extra Knife Juggler damage. Eagle Horn Bow, basically you get 6 damage for 3 mana. You can use some of that damage to kill your opponent's minions off, sometimes a good idea, sometimes necessary. But you can also combo this with Explosive Trap, get more charges on your Eagle Horn Bow. Pretty nice to have. I wouldn't say it's very likely that in the average match you're going to get 3 charges on one, but it's an added benefit. It can happen, and you can try to play around that and maybe get 9 damage from a 3-mana weapon. It's a good card to have if you have any secrets. Animal Companion gets you either a Misha, which is a 4-4 taunt, Leok, which is a 2-4 that gives allied minions +1 attack, and a Huffer, which is a 4-2 charging boar. All 3 of those minions are pretty good in their own right. Sometimes you get the wrong minion for the situation, but they're all pretty good overall, and 3 mana to get them out is very value, so it's a great hunter card. Kill Command, if you have any beasts, which if you look at the deck list, there's quite a few. You got the Haunted Creepers, you got the Animal Companions, you got Unleash the Hounds. Actually, that's all of them, but that's plenty, really, because you know, you're almost guaranteed to have one of those in your hand, and the Iron Beak Owl as well. So if you can, you want to kill command when you do have a beast on the field, so you can get the 5 damage in. But even if you can't, sometimes the 3 damage from a unbuffed kill command, just the 3 damage from it, is just fine for finishing your opponent off, because Face Hunter does so much damage, it's easy to get your opponent low, and then sometimes you just need that extra little bit of damage to finish your opponent off. But the fact that you do get extra damage if you have a beast, sometimes it's a good idea to save a beast in your hand that's not really going to do anything otherwise, like a haunted creeper, just to trigger those kill commands. Unleash the Hounds, as I mentioned, punishes your opponent for playing too many minions and really trying to control your board heavily. It's sort of in the same vein as a mind control tech, but what's great about this is all those guys are going to have charge. If you have a Leok on the field from Animal Companion, it's going to be crazy. If you can combo that with Knife Juggler, 5-mana combo, Knife Juggler Unleash the Hounds, that's crazy as well, because then you're getting not only 1/1 Hounds, but also 1 damage Knife Juggles from every Hound that gets summoned. If you can play this when your opponent has 3 or more minions, that's pretty good value. 4 is probably about as good as you can expect in most cases, but sometimes you run into players who like to play really aggressively or are just so desperate for board control that they'll drop everything on the field. For instance, the standard mid-range Paladin plays a lot of minions with cards like Muster for Battle. Then Unleash the Hounds can get super value sometimes. So use it to punish your opponent, but it's also useful for going for the finishing blow. Charge is also always good for that. And speaking of charge, these last 2 minions are all about charging. Just ignore your opponent's minions, use them to hit your opponent's face in 90% of cases. Arcane Golem, 4/2 charge for 3 mana is great. Only downside is it gives your opponent a mana crystal, but if you're playing this on turn like 5, 6, or 7, that 1 extra mana crystal isn't going to mean crap anyway, because they have to use their turn to play a Sludge Belcher. So let's say you do this on your turn 5, which is going to lead into their turn 5. So they'll have 5 mana, you give them 6 mana, they play a Sludge Belcher, and they float 1 mana, it doesn't matter. What does matter, though, is the fact you just got 4 more extra damage on their face before they got that Sludge Belcher in, so Arcane Golem, great for Face Hunter. Wolf Rider, similar, doesn't have the downside, so you can play it earlier, like on a turn 3 or 4. Weaknesses, it only has 1 health, but that's not always such a bad thing, because if they have to use like a Rogue Dagger to kill it, that's fine. If they use AoE that, you know, is anything but a fan of knives, really, then that's fine if they have to use it to remove it. The important thing is you get that 3 damage on your opponent's face, and then they have to deal with it somehow. If you've done that, then Wolf Rider has done its job and become pretty valued. So overall, Face Hunter works by putting so much pressure on your opponent that they have to trade into minions, which just sound horrible to do so. Like, okay, you have to swing at a Wolf Rider that's already done 3 damage to you and take another 3 damage from it just to remove it. Or 8 damage in the case of an Arcane Golem, Leper Gnomes. They deal 2 damage at turn to your face, or you kill them and take 2 damage immediately, so it doesn't matter, you're taking the damage. And Worgen Infiltrator, which you never get the chance to kill it before it does damage to your face, and then you have to deal with it anyway, so it's almost as if it might as well have charge. So yeah, Face Hunter is a very strong deck in the meta. It really wrecks decks that are way too slow, like Control Priests, because you can literally get them into the point where you're threatening lethal by the time they can even respond, like a turn 5 Holy Nova. So they play Holy Nova on turn 5. Doesn't matter, you already have them at 10 HP, and then you just throw a couple charge minions and a kill command at their face, and they're toast. I won't get too much into specific deck strategy, but one other tip I would recommend is, if you can, try to spend your mana as efficiently as possible, because you're only going to have so much throughout the course of a game, because games will end around turn 6 or 7. You'll either lose because your opponent has too many taunts or has healed themselves back up with an anti-kill bot, or you'll win because you've put so much pressure on them that they'll basically be unable to get their board re-established before they're already dead. And if you can use the hero power, 2 damage to the face for 2 mana becomes very, very, very strong with Face Hunter. And yeah, just keep that in mind. Like, turn 3 Leper Gnome hero power isn't such a bad play. You can consider that over something like just a Wolf Rider. So think about that when you're playing Face Hunter. Have fun with it. Many people will curse you if you do try to play Face Hunter, because everybody's sick of it at this point, but the reality is Face Hunter is just really, really strong, and that applies to Blackrock Mountain as well with the new Quick Shot ability. It's a great Face Hunter card. So, I've been Dark Skeleton. I hope taking a look at the Face Hunter deck has helped you out a little bit. Just copy this deck list. There are other ones available on Hearthstone, but this is pretty much what every Face Hunter looks like. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comments section down below. And if you want to check out the Patreon, it's patreon.com/darkskeleton. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.